And please join me for the flag salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we do have a couple of people absent tonight. We have Rob Pell is out and DJ Fazier is out tonight, and City Manager Aaron Kubik is out tonight. So Mark Bartholomew, City Attorney, is sitting here to my right. And first up, Chief, are you ready? We are going to consider an ordinance that would add false alarm fees for our municipal code.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're going to be continuing the conversation about the false alarm in the city of Grants Pass and the proposed false alarm ordinance that you all have in front of you tonight. Subject and summary, public safety responds to a significant number of false alarms each year, and reducing the number of false alarms will free up the valuable resources within the public safety department. And tonight we're going to ask that you consider an approval of a false alarm ordinance. Relationship to your council goals is to provide cooperative shared leadership involving council staff and of course the community, and to enhance community safety with increased proficiencies. So just kind of a bit of a recap on the workshop we had a couple of weeks ago. False alarms do cost the city and its citizens thousands of dollars each year, and they take police officers and firefighters away from those actual emergencies. Emergency services and resources are limited, so we should try to never waste those resources, and hundreds of police patrol hours are spent investigating alarm reports that turn out to be false. Alarm companies and alarm users, we believe, should be responsible for the use and maintenance of alarm systems to help ensure the prompt police and fire response when an emergency call really does exist. Police and fire respond to an average of about 2,000 false alarm calls per year, and the majority of these alarms are false. And I said that a little bit backward, about 2,000 alarm calls per year, and the majority of these alarms are false. Three major causes of false alarms, as a reminder: user error, installation or service errors, equipment failures, and then some of the other reasons: inadequate training, battery systems, unlocked or loose fitting doors and windows, drafts from heaters, air conditioning, etc., as you can see behind me. So just again to go over some of the numbers, we talked about an average of about 2,000 alarm responses per year, and as you can see from that chart behind me, quite a few are false. We talked about some of the locations, and I added those with 3 or more false alarms in 1 year, just so you could get an idea. And 164 are commercial locations, 10 residents, and 48 of these locations have actually 7 or more false alarms. That's quite a few. And then I did list out, as a reminder, the top 6 false alarm response locations over the past year. And as you can see, without naming names, Business A, 25, B, 20, C, 16, and then a couple of businesses with 15. It's quite a few. On the fire side of the house, firefighters respond to about 275 alarm calls a year. Alarms occur at a variety of different locations, including businesses and residences, schools, churches, city property. 25 are false alarms, and 25% are canceled prior to arrival. As you can see, there's a bit of difference on the fire side of the house, but still, we obviously want our firefighters not to be responding to false alarms, especially in this critical fire season that we're currently in. Fire frequent alarm locations, locations with 3 or more alarms in 1 year, 21 are commercial, 3 residences, and then the top 6 I listed there also. And as you can see, a clear difference in the police and fire alarm response, but still, nonetheless, 1 business with 7, another with 6, and then a few more with 5. So before I actually go into the false alarm ordinance that you have in your packet in front of you, I did speak with our finance director because I noticed one error in my presentation, and has to do with interest fees. So you'll see and I see Councilor Lovelace is pulling the package out. In the very back of the PowerPoint presentation, I did add the ordinance that just has crossed out the interest rate, because we do not add interest to folks that have not paid their bill. So the first chapter is just the title of false alarms, and then we go through the definitions, and they're pretty self-explanatory. The alarm system meaning, alarm center meaning, false alarm meaning, what an owner means, and then premise. Responsibilities for maintaining and operating the alarm system. This just kind of goes over the intent, who is responsible for that. One of the most important parts of this ordinance, though, would include the reporting of the false alarm, so we can report adequately, the who, what, why, when, and where, and that's what you see in front of you under 67.05, reporting of the false alarm. So, of course, depending on if it's a police or fire response, and if it's, of course, false or not, we want to be able to document the location, the name and address of the owner, the date and time it was relayed, the type of alarm, and then, of course, the total number of false alarms, as we will experience several false alarms. And then, of course, we want to add a summary of this report to anything that we send out to the homeowner and or business owner. And then this is the piece that I was talking about, the imposition of fees, payment. And then I did have an interest added in there, but as I said, after I spoke with our finance director, which I'm glad I did so yesterday, I realized that we do not have it in place to add a reoccurring interest to folks that may not be able to pay that particular fee. So we talked about this at length during the former workshop, and I'll have it broken down and a little bit more easier to read, but for the third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth false alarm for emergency service response for both police and fire, there will be a fee attached to it. So, of course, the first two would essentially be free, and then it continues to go up from there. An invoice of the fee will impose per the subsection 6, which is that reporting, will be included. The payment of the false alarm fee shall be due within 30 days after the statement, unless the owner files a written appeal, which we have an appeal process that's built in. And then again, the delinquent payment, as you see in D, will be subject to collections, but not subject to the interest fee. Again, the application of fees, a false alarm fee, shall be applied to offset the expenses of the department that responded to that particular false alarm. And as you can see, I did take out the interest thereon. The continuing on with the right to appeal, I think it's a pretty robust appeal process that folks that disagree with that particular billing have an option to go through. So the owner who's been notified of this false alarm fee may appeal it directly to me as the public safety director by giving a written notice of appeal within 15 days. And then the notice of appeal shall explain the reason why the owner believes the alarm was not false. And we have a lot of pitfalls built in, so we can support our community when in fact there may be an error in receiving a bill for a false alarm fee. The public safety director shall schedule the time and place, and the rest of this ordinance, or the rest of this paragraph, just goes through the hearing process. And then it continues on to say, after all of the evidence, the public safety director shall render a decision within 5 days of the date of the hearing, and the decision shall be in writing, supported by a findings of fact, and it shall be final. The director determines that the owner has met the burden of proof in showing that the alarm fees was not false. The false alarm determination shall be rescinded, and the false alarm fee shall be refunded to the owner. If the owner fails to meet that burden of proof that the alarm was not false, the false alarm fee will continue to be applied per the chapter. But this is probably the nuts and bolts of it right here behind me. Easy to read, easy to see. The third and fourth, or the third through the sixth false alarm is $50. The seventh through ninth, $100, and the 10 or more false alarms would be $200. But I did want to point out that you won't see this fee schedule in this particular ordinance. This fee schedule is on your consent agenda tonight for consideration, as the finance director does this every year with a resolution amending the comprehensive fee schedule, and you'll see that later on this evening. So your call to action is today's date. Options and alternatives, of course, is at the council's direction, or you can not approve the proposed ordinance, or approve the ordinance adding Grants Pass Municipal Code chapters 6720, 6730, 6740, 50, 60, 70, and 80. And our recommendation tonight is that the council approve the proposed ordinance as stipulated behind me. And that is my presentation. It was short and to the point. I know we went over it in greater detail during a workshop, but I'm certainly available for questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions? Rick?
Thank you, Chief. On the appeal process, it indicates you as a public safety director. Are you the hearings officer at that case on the actual appeal?
Yes, sir.
And would you anticipate an appeal of that sort would take 15 minutes and half an hour?
You know, we'll find out when we see the first one. I actually don't anticipate too many appeals, to be fair. For example, when we have if we tow a vehicle and the owner of the towed vehicle disagrees with our towing decision, we also have an appeal process built in for that, and we don't really see too many of them. You know, I do think this will probably take about an hour of my time is my guess. It seems like writing it up might take a little bit more time than the actual appeal itself.
Okay, I guess I would, I see your time as being very valuable, and I realize the input with the public is important in maintaining that relationship, but also see I'm not sure if your time is spent on quite a few of these. I would want to relook at that.
We might have to do that if it goes that, and I appreciate those comments, Councillor. And I also think it's an opportunity for me just to engage with the public, as we've spoken to before. It's my job to try my very best to build trust and nurture legitimacy within our organization. It just gives me another opportunity to do that.
Other questions? All right. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak on this? Please come forward and state your name. Make sure the mic's on.
Rika Brown. Just a question. Is there an appeals process beyond the public safety director?
Thank you. All right, council, I'll turn it over for discussion. Do you have any? Joel?
Well, the answer to Rika's question under the proposal would be no, unless you went to court, I would assume, and then you could appeal that to a judge, I would guess. Maybe it might not be appealable to a judge, but I would guess that it would be. But anyway, we had a small business. We got robbed. They were looking for, it's a medical office, so they were looking for drugs, and they took some computers, about $10,000, and then, so we upgraded our alarm system, and the alarm system kept going off. And the police responded every time. I mean, it'd be like 3 in the morning, I was over there checking the front door. The K-9 unit came one time, the Rin Tin Tin was set loose, and he was off chasing something, but then he came back and never found anything. And I appreciate the police responding in good faith every time. And after about the 5th time, I thought, this isn't right. Something's wrong here. So we got a hold of SOS, and they came out, and sure enough, there was a short in the system. And by that time, I had cost the police a lot of time and effort. So I think this is, as a small business owner, I would be happy to pay this. And the thing I would caution myself and other business owners is to be sensitive to the false alarms because, and to get on them immediately. This will provide some incentive to do that, but I waited for about 5 false alarms, unfortunately, and I apologize to the public safety officers for that. But I think it's a good ordinance, and I'm going to vote for it.
Valerie?
Well, I'm going to go along with Joel, just first of all to say that I have been a victim. My husband also has a business and is often has had false alarms, has had many real alarms, and totally appreciate the police coming every single time. And I think that's really important. I'm going to assume that when they get their first and second, there's some sort of educational knowing, that we won't wait till the 5th to get it. And I think this will just raise that awareness of the fact that it is. I think a lot of times, especially when you see the ones up there that have had so many of them, it's an easy thing to just kind of let go. And the resources of our police officers are very valuable. And I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of people kind of getting a wake-up call. But I think it's really 2 things are important. Number one, it is not an ongoing revenue source. The whole purpose we've talked about it is the fact that it will be an education to people to say, hey, this is important that you check your system. And people are held accountable because a lot of times I have to admit I went down the Mylar balloon a couple times and then realized that Mylar balloons are not good to leave at your house. So when I leave, I always check that. Number one, and that there is an appeal process. So I thank you, and I do understand the need for it, so I am also going to be voting in favor. So I can go ahead and make a motion, can't I? I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposed ordinance adding Grants Pass Municipal Code Chapter 5.67.020, 5.67.2030, 5.67.040, 5.67.050, 5.67.060, 5.67.070, and 5.67.80.
Thank you. Rick with the second. Thanks. Any further discussion? All right, Valerie, you made the motion. How do you vote?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Thanks, Chief. Hope this helps. We really want to not penalize people or raise funds for the city so much as cut back on the number of false alarm calls that we would be receiving in the long run. Next up on the agenda, yeah.
We need to do the first and second reading.
Thank you, sorry.
So, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass, adding Chapter 5.67.20, 020, false alarms, including sections 5.67, 030, 040, 050, 060, 070, and 080 to the Grants Pass Municipal Code.
Thank you. Brian?
I move to approve the proposed ordinance adding Grants Pass Municipal Code, Chapter 5.67.020, false alarms, including sections 5.67.030, 0.040, 0.050, 0.060, 0.070, and 0.080, and have it read by title only, second reading.
Thank you. Joel with the second. Brian, you're up for the vote.
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Karen?
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Grants Pass, adding Chapter 5.67.020, false alarms, including sections 5.67.030, 040, 050, 060, 070, and 080 to the Grants Pass Municipal Code.
Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is a consideration of a resolution that would authorize the city manager to contribute matching grant funds to Common Connections Rural Innovation Stronger Economy Grant application for the Rogue Innovation Hub.
Greetings, Mayor and Council. Let me pull up the slide here. So I'm here to present a request from Common Connections regarding the Rogue Innovation Hub. And this resolution would authorize the city manager to support Common Connections, which is a registered 501c3 organization, by providing a required 20% match for a grant application to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Innovation Stronger Economy Grant program for funds to develop the Rogue Innovation Hub. And relationship to your council goals is to encourage economic opportunities. So the RISE grant, as it is referred to, offers grant assistance to create and augment high-wage jobs. The grant funds are intended to be utilized for utilized by rural job accelerator partnerships to develop and enhance innovation centers, which provide innovative approaches to workforce development in our areas. The request for the approval is to provide a 20% match to apply for this USDA RISE grant in the amount of $745,000. The requested cash match from the City of Grants Pass is $149,000. The matching fund would be used to establish the Rogue Innovation Hub as a new business accelerator and its allowable expense using urban renewal dollars. This grant is intended to kickstart the implementation of the Rogue Innovation Hub. The Rogue Innovation Hub is intended to serve new business accelerators by providing space, tools, expertise, and other services. And it's a beginning partnership with the City of Grants Pass, and there's other partners in the community that support the Rogue Innovation Hub and this idea. Common Connections will build a basic prototyping laboratory and make it available to startup businesses and subscription members. And they will intend to have a close working relationship with the Small Business Development Center to provide ready access to expert business advice and mentoring. So to implement the Rogue Innovation Hub for the first 4 years, it is expected to cost $894,000. The amount of the USDA grant fund for 4 years is $745,000, and the grant requires a 20% match. We do have urban renewal dollars, LB 6344, and the available balance for this fiscal year is $180,000. And they are requesting a 20% match, which is $149,000. The call to action is at your discretion. We have several representatives from Common Connections here tonight. We have the Executive Director, Kat Bonney. We have the Project Coordinator, Dennis Dreyer. And we have 2 members of the Steering Committee who are all very excited about this opportunity. And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. And we do have the representation here to answer questions as well.
Thank you, Susan. Questions? Valerie?
I am sure that you've researched this, but I just want to make absolutely sure, because I know we are no longer considered rural, and I know, like in terms of some programs, we do not qualify because we are now known as a metropolitan area with the Gold Hills. So I'm just assuming that's been researched, and you know that we are absolutely legitimately able to go for this grant.
Yes, they are showing that rural residents will be participating and accessing the Innovation Hub. And so they can identify the area within the Grants Pass and the outer areas of the community. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rick?
Thank you, Susan. Is RCC involved indirectly or directly with this in any way?
Well, as you may recall, last year we did have an agreement with RCC, and COVID and other factors, RCC wasn't able to move forward with the partnership, and that's when Common Connections stepped up and saw the value of the Rogue Innovation Hub, and they wanted to continue the concept, and they've been working behind the scenes for quite a while. They've been in touch with city staff and others, and they they have a plan to implement this Rogue Innovation Hub utilizing these dollars, and that's where this partnership can start, is this 20% match.
Joel?
So, given the successful funding, what is the best outcome a year from now for a new business owner coming to the Business Hub? What would they experience? Could someone describe that for me?
This is Dennis Dreyer coming up to the,
Thank you, councilors. And could you please repeat? So a person a year from now,
Make sure your mic's on.
There should be a little red.
Push this little button
here. And it turns red because it's all.
thank you, folks. Could you repeat,
I need to
please?
just lift
I
it
think
up
you were
higher,
asking-
Dennis. If you could just lift the mic up. There you go.
I need a lot of counsel.
Did you ask Joel to repeat the question?
Could you please?
Okay,
Councilor
sure.
King?
So, assuming that the grant and the match are in place, and you folks are successful in serving the community and your purpose of your organization, what would a new business coming into town a year from now expect to see when they come in, and what would the services be?
A year from now, a person walking into the Rogue Innovation Hub will find a prototype shop. And a prototype shop is a collection of tools where just about anything can be fabricated. It would include metalworking tools, woodworking tools, some design tools like 3D printers, CAD, CAD systems in order to design things. And they would be given assistance in how to proceed with their business plan. I know myself as a small businessman, when I first started, I didn't have any money. And all of the things that I wanted to make, I couldn't make until I bought the tools. We hope to provide the tools and give access to the tools so that people who have these ideas can go ahead and make a business. We're also partnering with Soretti, with SBDC, to try to solve some of the larger supply chain constraints and the job efforts that are underway already. We'd like to join those really as a tool, not really start over. We want to join those efforts that are already ongoing and support them.
So then, do you have examples of other hubs throughout the country that have been successful in achieving that vision?
There are as many that are successful. There's perhaps more that are unsuccessful and are successful, to be perfectly honest with you. There are business incubators that are run by private entities that have done very well. There are some that are operated by educational institutions that have done very well. And there are some that are started by nonprofits. So it's a matter of, is the concept accepted once it arrives? Do people utilize this as well? We think they will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Brian?
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. So I got two questions. The first one is, are there any other organizations, government or otherwise, that are partnering with Common Connections funding-wise besides the city and this USDA grant?
At this time, no. The reason is that this grant was announced on the 15th of June. We had been working for some time on putting together this concept, or keeping this concept alive. We made the decision in late last year to kind of quit that planning process because funding didn't seem to be available. Enthusiasm around the concept was not available. So for the last 4 weeks, we've been up to our ears in trying to figure this out. We do expect that there will be other funding sources that appear over time. We'll apply for foundations. In discussing the grant with the USDA, they said, by all means, keep in mind that we have other programs to supplement this. The Rogue Innovation Hub did have they had a federal grant for $100,000 to hire staff from the Rural Business Development Group. So that is also available. They have other capacity building grants that are available. We see this as an enabling grant, one that will allow us to get started. Certainly not complete. You know, one year will be a start. 3 years, 5 years, then we're going to be able to provide some real business service. But we'll have other groups that will be funding us by that time.
Okay, great. And in the packet, it talks about implementing the hub in 3 phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And do you have any sort of estimate as far as like phase one's going to be like the first year or the first 2 years, or kind of the timetable for those phases?
My own rule of thumb is that I would expect that we will spend the first 4 to 6 months in selecting a site, doing infrastructure analysis, determining what are the kinds of things that we need to put in, power, water availability, and all that sort of stuff. We will then begin to purchase tools in kind of a limited way. We'll start with a small shop, we'll start with a few pieces, we'll build it, we'll see who's coming, and then we'll expand as it goes. And I would expect that that phase will probably occupy the next year and a half. Beyond that, I think we'll know who's coming, we'll know what kinds of things the public will be looking for and what services business will be looking for, and we'll be able to plan a little bit more, knowledgeably.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Vanessa?
This question is for Susan. Was there any consideration utilizing the community development block grant funds that are available?
The community development block grants were, Common Connections has been in conversations with Ann Engel, who oversees the community development block grant, and that would also be utilized to help pay for membership once the Rogue Innovation Hub was up and running. So this is really a kickstart. We've had this funding available in this project for the last couple of years, and we really thought it was going to go somewhere with RCC. And there's so much enthusiasm from many community members, and this is an opportunity. If they do get this grant by the city participating in the 20%, it's going to really kick it off. And they're requesting the funds under the assumption that they're going to get the grant. So we're not, that's the agreement at this point.
Of course, we're going to get the grant, Susan.
Thank you.
Valerie?
It's my understanding that there is a pretty successful one over in Jackson County. Am I correct? In White City, I think?
Talent Maker City,
Talent.
there's
Talent Maker City,
Crater
yeah.
Works, but we don't really have anything here in Josephine County.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I thought. So thank you for that.
Dennis?
Those programs have a little bit different focus than what we are. In the original iteration, we talked a lot about the word makerspace, and I think it became a touchy-feely sort of thing. You get together with your friends, you make things, and you have a wonderful time. There was very little about incubation of businesses. And I think both of those places, both Crater Works, which is connected to an educational institution, and Talent Maker City, which is, it has an education focus, but are they private or are they? They're nonprofit as well, okay. So their focus is also education. They do some contracting with the school system and Talent. They do have a number of wonderful tools and people coming by making things, selling them on Etsy and things like that. We're looking to be a little bit more of a comprehensive business incubator and try to address some of the things that Soretti is addressing in the larger regional, sort of look.
Brian?
Yeah, this is either probably for Susan or Adam, perhaps. So just following up with Councilor Auger's comment about the community development block grant, I don't recall the amount of money that was set aside for an innovation hub, but whatever that amount of money is, can it not be used for this purpose? Is it strictly for membership?
It's more for services to provide low-income people seeking assistance, business assistance. It would help them with their any type of tuition or membership. So that's what the CBDG grant is for.
So just to be clear, the CDBG cannot be used for this.
Right. We've already looked into that, and it cannot.
There is approximately 75,000, I believe, that's allocated in the CDBG program, but yeah, that was looked at. So it's, for this sort of startup, capital, equipment-oriented type project, that would be a no. But as Susan said, it's more oriented towards the low-income, that sector, and so that's kind of the direction that's there.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Kurt?
So you mentioned that this was open to subscribing members, among other things? And I'm just wondering.
Yes, sir.
Who's subscribing members and what's the subscription cost?
We haven't addressed that as yet. The Talent Maker City, when they began to take memberships, they were a year and a half in, I think, before they felt the shop was ready to accept members. And once they did, I think they were charging $50 or $60. This is a common number around the country. I've seen fees as high as $100. It kind of depends on
So
what
it's
one
nominal.
wants. I'm sorry?
It's fairly nominal.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it provides access to tools. Many of the places require people to bring their own blades or other damageable or usable pieces so that the facility is not bearing the cost of people using things wrong.
Brian?
Yeah, just to clarify, is that like 50 or 60 a month or a one-time?
Per month.
Per
Yes, sir.
month, okay. And is there any sort of like application? Because I would assume that, once you're up and running, you have the space available and you have, let's say some person, maybe they don't necessarily have a business idea, maybe they want to use it more as a maker space. Is there any sort of kind of like, application, or do they need to be accepted? Because if a low-income person just wants to go, make something like as a hobby, I could see them using the CDBG funds to get their membership paid for. I'm just trying to figure out how you guys might structure
We haven't
that.
dug deeply into that, but it's, the intention is to provide both of those things. There is absolutely an educational component to this. Part of the education is hands-on. The ability to come into a place where tools are available, people that know how to use them, where mentors are available to help you work through it. It may be that someone has a hobby, but it may be that they're harboring in their secret little mind that maybe I could make a business out of this and I wouldn't have to work at that place anymore. That's how I did when I, was chasing small businesses. But I think all people would be available to come. I think the individual members would probably be a focus that appears later, a year and a half.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you, Susan. Dennis? Is there
Thank you,
anyone
folks.
else from the public who wanted to speak on this? Or Dennis, since you just answered our questions, if you wanted to speak on it, you're welcome to. Kat, come on, tell us your name.
Thank you, Mayor and councilors. I just wanted to say thank you so much for considering this. This has been going around for many years, and there is a lot of heart and education that's gone into it. We've learned from our neighbors to the east, and we have learned from other people. As you know, I think the city has borne the cost of having many different discussions and provided lots of information that has come forward. So the fact that you're considering it and the fact that we have the blessing of having some money still available, and in my opinion, the fortuitousness of having this opportunity to apply for this grant all comes together. So it's synchronicity coming together, and hopefully we'll be successful and provide something beautiful for our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, council discussion. Valerie?
Yes, I'm very excited about it. As an educator for 30 years and seeing the creativity out there and the ability for people to go to find a spot to kind of, like I said, play around with ideas for their future, I think is very important. I like the partnership with the SDBC, the small business, SBD, I don't know what it is, I've never been, is important. And I do know that, we have a very active and positive business group working in here, and I can't say enough as what we need to do in this community is build up our median income, because that, it's just so important that we have opportunities and lots of opportunities for people to re-educate and rework their careers and be able to have this available. So I am in favor, so I'm going to go ahead and move to approve the resolution authorizing the city manager to provide matching funds in the amount of $149,000 for Common Connections USDA RISE grant application for funding the Road Innovation Hub.
Kurt with the second, thank you. Further discussion on the motion? Brian?
And Valerie's on top of it tonight.
I know.
Yeah.
But,
I feel like typically this would be something that's coming to us at a workshop because we haven't, this council hasn't had discussions on this topic previously. So to have it, come up at a meeting and us needing to make a decision, tonight feels a little bit rushed. I also would feel a little bit more comfortable if there were other partners involved with funding, for example, maybe RCC or Josephine County. But those things said, I am excited about the prospect of this innovation hub, and I think it will be a good asset for our community. So I will be supporting it, and I hope that, that it goes well.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, so the motion was to approve the resolution, and Valerie, you are up.
yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Kurt?
Big yes.
Joel?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We'll give you those grant matching funds. Thanks for being here. Next up on the agenda is to consider a resolution that would award the property owner of the Parkway Village LLC a system development charge matching grant for the property located at 1537 Northeast F Street. Welcome back, Susan.
Thank you. This one's going to be fun because it's kind of two grants in one, and I'll explain that a little bit more as we go through the presentation. The grant is two applications requesting council approval to provide the SDC matching grants for the sewer, water, parks, and transportation. Parkway Village LLC is the applicant for two different businesses. And the relationship to your council goals is to encourage economic opportunities by facilitating an environment to encourage business prosperity and economic opportunities. So as you know, through many of the other system development grants that you've approved, we've successfully helped fund 11 small businesses with 50 employees or less looking to relocate or expand their business. Conditions require a 50% match up to $25,000. Parkway Village is the property owner and landlord and is utilizing the incentive for small businesses to relocate and subsidize some of their SDC charges. So back in April of 2021, Parkway Village was awarded an SDC matching grant for Active Sports. Active Sports actually came here and was the business presenting, and at that time it was the first time that a business applied in that complex. And so now they have different tenants in the same complex. The SDC charges for each of the tenants are very minimal, and after the Active Sports received their grant, and then we got these two grant requests, we have a special, we're tracking the amount of grant applications that Village Parkway is asking for, and they're not going to ever exceed, we will make sure they don't ever exceed the matching $25,000. I kind of fumbled my words there, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So the first business is Baker Charter School. They're going to be located at 1537 Northeast F Street. It's a 2,500 square foot space, and it will be used to teach students in a classroom setting. The other business is Admire Aesthetics. It's a medical aesthetics practice currently located in Medford, and they're expanding their business model to Grants Pass. Their address is going to be 1533 Northeast F Street. These two businesses are tenants, and it's benefiting them by getting this SDC grant. So the revenue source is from LB 6381. It's commercial and nonprofit infrastructure for SDCs. The current unencumbered balance in the fund right now is $159,000. So we already have an SD fee for, a total fee for Baker Charter School, which is $2,236. So their 50% match request would be $1,118. And then the Admire Aesthetics total SDCs are $2,423 with a 50% match of $1,211.60. So the call to action is at your discretion. And there's a potential for each one of the businesses, potential motion. And I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Susan? No? Rick?
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
So, of course, everything has a process and so forth. So can you explain to me when it's a grant, whether the grant is approving $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, it comes to City Council no matter what? Or
For the SDC grant, for the building facade grant, and for the business retention and expansion, once we receive the applications and it's reviewed by staff to make sure that they're eligible, the final approval is always City Council that we bring to you. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
that is correct.
Brian?
Yep, thanks, Susan. So it says this grant program is for businesses with 50 employees or less that are looking to relocate or expand their business. And so I'm just getting clarification. Baker Charter School, is that a new business? Are they relocating from a location currently in town? And then Admire Aesthetics, it looks like they are just opening a new location here in town. And
Right, they're an existing business in Medford. They're opening up a new business here. I believe Baker Charter School is also also has a facility, but they're going to be new to Grants Pass. It's their new location here. We changed the application process too. I think you have it in your exhibits. So the application actually shows the building owner and then the property owner and then the business owner. And that resulted from this particular company, Parkway Village.
thank you.
Trying to fill their spaces and help their businesses as well move in.
Kurt?
Is anyone here from the school?
No,
Do you
not
know
tonight.
what the guiding principle of Baker Charter School is? What its purpose is?
I'm
There-
sorry, I do not
There
have
is
that
somebody here from the
information.
school.
Oh, is there? I apologize. Oh.
Oh, okay.
Hello. So Terry from Parkway Village is here tonight, so he can answer that question. He may have more information than I have. Thank you for coming tonight, you two.
So Baker Charter School, here?
Yeah.
Baker Charter School is actually a nonprofit, and this will be their 8th location in the state.
Well, I mean, charter schools typically are an alternative to a public school.
Correct.
Is there a purpose? I mean, what's their...
They're K through 12.
All right, well, I guess, I mean, what I'm saying is that I just have a difficulty with giving public money for a private school.
Okay. They're not a private school, but I can't tell you what their exact business model is, just that they are, I don't know what they say that they're a nonprofit, but I don't know what their exact business model is.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? All right. Is there nobody here from Baker specifically? Is there anyone from Admire Aesthetics that wanted to speak? No. Is there anyone from the public who wanted to speak on either of these? All right, Council, Rika, come on up.
Rika Brown. I believe the criteria includes businesses, public and private. And nonprofit, to be exact. They're nonprofit, they're within the criteria. Thank you.
And most of the businesses would be private businesses, they're just not usually schools. All right, council, we'll turn it over to you for discussion, and let's talk about Baker Charter School first. Joel.
I don't have the same reservation as Kurt. I think alternatives are fine, especially given the diversity that's in our population and some of the needs of kids and families to have different environments in which to learn and perhaps more individual attention, perhaps not. They are a nonprofit. They are a tenant. They support a local business, and I'll be voting for it.
Did you want to make the motion, Joel?
Sure. And is there any other discussion, or you want? Okay. Thank you, Mayor. You're better than I deserve. Okay, let me see here. It is recommended that the council approve the resolution awarding the SDC matching incentive grant to the property owner of Parkway Village LLC to benefit the Baker Charter School expansion located at 1537 Northeast F Street. And then there's a second motion.
Let's just do that first one.
You want to just do the first one? Okay.
The amount of $1,118.40.
Yeah.
All right, Valerie with the second. Any discussion on that? Vanessa?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, although no one is here today, I'd like to applaud Baker Charter School. I did some research on them, and they do have a really robust anti-discrimination policy, so I'd like to give them kudos for that.
All right, Joel, you made the motion. How do you vote?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Kurt?
No.
All right, motion passes 5-1. And now let's have a discussion on the Admire Aesthetics. Does anybody have anything? Brian?
I move to approve the resolution awarding the property owner of Parkway Village LLC a system development charge matching grant of $1,211.06 for the property located at 1533 Northeast F Street to assist with SDC expenses. This approval will include an expiration date of 1 year from the date of adoption of this resolution.
Second from Rick, thank you. Discussion on the motion? All right, Brian, you're up.
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Joel?
Yes.
All right, granted 6-0, thank you. All right, next up we have a committee appointment for our Parks Advisory Committee. And you should all have a list of names here on this yellow sheet. So the applicants for the Parks Advisory Committee vacancy, there's just one opening, but we have 6 applicants. Bradley Converse, Shane Hickman, Shannon Holst, Merle Ming, Cambry Nelson, and Patrick Ryan. Is there any discussion? Brian, then Rick?
Yeah, I was under the impression we'd be getting a rationale from the committee chair. Is that? Oh, it's just that little sentence there. Yeah. Okay, then never mind.
The committee recommends Shane Hickman due to his resume and record of service. So that's what we heard. Rick?
When we review some of these names too, I think at one point there was some disclosure whether those individuals served on one or more committees already. Are any of these people on other committees at this time?
No, they are not.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
All right, so what we're going to do is each of you, if you would please circle or check your favorite candidate there, put your name on the piece of paper, pass it down to me. I will read them and then we'll make a formal motion of it. All right, we have 4 nods, I guess, in support of Converse, coming from Brian De La Grange. Oh my gosh, you guys writing your names. Vanessa, Auger, must be Kurt Collins and Rick Riker. Then we have 2 for Shane Hickman, being Valerie Lovelace and Joel King. Brian.
I move to nominate Bradley Converse to Parks Committee.
Second from Vanessa. Any discussion? Valerie?
Well, I would just like to say I'm very happy to see as many people wanting to be a part of our Parks Advisory Committee, and would recommend that they keep in, because a couple of them I've seen come up before as well, and I know that there's some really good candidates out there, so I hope that they will not get discouraged and they will keep sticking in there until something comes up for them.
All right, we have a motion in support of Bradley Converse. Brian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Valerie?
Yes.
Vanessa?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Kurt?
Yes.
Joel?
No.
All right, Brad is appointed 5-1. And on the next issue on our agenda was, does somebody have something? Okay, Bikeways and Walkways Committee, which we had said the other day that we were going to defer because we do not have a recommendation from the committee on who they would like to appoint. However, I did want to let you guys all know that they have had 2 opportunities now to nominate somebody, and they have not made progress on that. Their next meeting is August 10th, and then that would put it on us, you know, mid-August, August 18th at the earliest. So I think we'll just let it go tonight, because we said, I believe on Monday we discussed this and said that we were going to. Yeah.
I did want to speak a little bit on the behalf of the committee. They had a very, very full agenda with a packed house with the issue of dealing with river access easements. And so they just didn't get to it in that meeting. They wanted to hear all the public testimony. Councilor De La Grange, you were there. I want to say 20-some people came to testify on that particular issue. It wasn't that they're kind of bogging down. They just didn't get to it in that meeting. It will be handled at the next business session.
Okay. So just so you all know, we can wait for them one more time. And then we probably need to move on. All right. Next up on the agenda is the public comment period. This is an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on items not related to a public hearing or a council action item for the council. The intent is to provide information that is pertinent to the city's jurisdiction. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the council as one body, not two individuals. At the conclusion of public comment, council will have an opportunity to respond. This meeting will proceed in an effective and courteous manner. Council members will be allowed to state their positions in an atmosphere free from slander, threats, or personal attacks. Signs or placards, outbursts of applause, campaigning for public office, or other disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. If you have a question regarding any government service or a current city policy, please contact the city manager's office in an attempt to resolve the matter. We have 3 cards here for public comment today. So first up, Stephen Nelson.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I originally began to come to council meetings back in 2017 with certain driving factors. One of those was the need to amend the illegal demolition that was happening in this city. I wanted to see that ordinance amended, and I acknowledge Rika Brown for supporting me with that. But an ordinance doesn't do any good if it isn't enforced. I had hope earlier because I began to see water trucks and hoses at the sites of demolition, so I had hope. And then I was passing by the fairgrounds a few days ago, and I see Robco demolishing a structure by the fairgrounds. No water truck, a business over here, walkers over here, dust going all over the place, fiberglass insulation coming out of the building. So I inquire, who is hiring Robco? Travis Boersma. I will not conjecture, okay, but why was he able to get away with illegally demolishing a building? So the point I'm trying to make is I don't think I should be doing the city's job. I called Robco and informed them that they were in violation of a city ordinance, and they told me they would get right on it. I should not have to do the city's job. That was supposed to be written into the ordinance to prevent illegal demolition. I spearheaded that to protect our community because my lungs are damaged because of what happened in my neighborhood. I don't want that to happen to anyone else. So, to Travis Boersma, I say, wake up and smell the coffee. Make sure you are legal when you do your projects. To the city, you need to enforce the ordinance that you have in your books. Otherwise, they do no good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Rika Brown.
Rika Brown, Grants Pass. In the July 13th Daily Courier, we were told that the council is thinking of using $3 million, a good third of our federal COVID relief funding, to pay for 2 years of rate increases for the new water treatment plant at an average of $8 per month that would not be added to our bills. Since we use more water than average, my family would benefit more than most. But such a small benefit would be hollow and temporary compared to reforming our rate system to pay for all of our overhead with base rates and charging only marginal unit costs to our unit rates, the way we used to pay for water when this city was clean, green, beautiful, and safe from wildfire. It is better to take the debt payments off our rates entirely and charge us all but the 18% paid by the Urban Renewal District in our debt payment fee. We were told when the debt payment fee was passed that it would never increase and would go away when the debt was paid. We were not told that 22% of it would go on to our base and unit rates, where it increases by inflation every year and will never go away. Some counselors, the Courier said, want to thank essential workers for staying on the job by giving them some federal money. This is problematic. Which jobs are essential and who holds them? How do you find out? Do the relative few who are paying attention apply and prove it? It would only cause resentment, dividing residents into classes and paying only some. Any money you would give to essential workers would be little compared to what they would gain when you reform water and sewer rates, making it cheap to use water and free to use sewer, like we used to. A lot of those essential workers are sharing housing and paying more than they should for water and sewer because of water rationing unit rates. Housing is what you should spend all that federal money on, starting with 2 cheap places to shower and sleep for those without secure shelter. With a few $1 million, you could build a couple of large hostels that can house all of our unsheltered residents. They would be sustainable because they would be cheap to use, not free. When you reform our water and sewer rates, they will be more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Mike Pelfrey.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. Just going to read something real quick. It says, and maybe you'll recognize this, it says, Grants Pass is a healthy, vibrant place to live, work, and play, a city connecting people to people with thriving economic, cultural, and recreational opportunities, right? Right over there. So what I wanted to share is that didn't happen from about March of 2020 to about June of 2021. I attended a county commission meeting this morning where we asked our county officials to please work within the Constitution of the United States in protecting our citizens locally. That was what we requested to the county. No more masks, because we have a feeling, it's not if, but it's when, that our tyrannical governor will ultimately send a request to have our citizens, these chairs removed. We have to sit in here with masks again. I don't ever want to go through that again. And I think we can clearly see that I personally don't feel that these masks did anything. But what I do know it did was it shut down a lot of businesses in our town. If you walk down G Street and look to the left and right, you'll see several small restaurants that didn't make it. They didn't make it. They didn't make it because we removed an opportunity for them to make a living. And we allowed our governor to dictate to our citizens on how they are able to survive and make a living. Some of the things that they've put in place has also created such a problem with these businesses where they can't even hire employees to come go to work for them because our state continues to just hand out cash like it's growing on trees. So I want to see our city council hopefully take the same steps that our county commissioners are going to be doing, and that is adopting resolutions or at least standing up for our citizens, knowing darn well that the last year was actually, I think, very unavoidable, or I should say very avoidable. I don't think things that they required us to do as citizens, I mean, I just took a flight, I said this morning, I took a flight from North Carolina back, and I'm sitting on the plane, and I realized that this virus was so incredibly smart that as soon as they put a pack of peanuts in front of me, everybody like this took their masks off and ate peanuts. Now, that is just ridiculous. And now I think about the businesses that suffered because of that type of thought process. So we need to support our businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that was the public comment that we had signed up for tonight. Karen, how about, or first, does anybody want to review public comment? All right, Karen, do we have any emails this week?
Sure, we have 4 emails complaining about people camping and trashing the city, a request to ban fireworks, a request to change the city's water rates, 2 requesting to use pandemic funding to offset the cost of the water treatment plant, 2 requests to form a GP Climate Advisory Committee, and a response to concerns with Doug Bradley's comments to the BOC.
Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is our consent agenda. These are items that are of such routine nature or without controversy that they can be approved within a single action. And our council president is not here tonight, so Valerie Lovelace is sitting in to help read the consent agenda.
Okay. Item 4A, a resolution amending the comprehensive fee schedule to include false alarm fees. B, resolution creating a position of facilities maintenance technician and amending the classification plan. C, resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for 2 community development policing accreditation grants. D, a motion acknowledging the receipt of the monthly financial report for May 2021, and a motion acknowledging various minutes of council, commission, and committee meetings that happened between May and July of this year. And with that, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Second from Joel. Thank you. All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstains? All right. Matters from mayor, council, and staff. Council, do you have anything you wanted to bring up tonight?
Yes.
Valerie.
I'm just going to bring up that the Chamber of Commerce is doing a lemonade day for, I think it's 5th grade students, and they are looking for businesses that are willing to sponsor and have children set up lemonade businesses, and in the whole idea of teaching some economic business skills to the kids. So if you're interested, if there's businesses or people want to help out, I think the Boys and Girls Club will be doing the education part of it, but they can contact the Grants Pass Chamber, Josephine County Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. I think they especially wanted high traffic businesses. Vanessa.
I have forgotten, is this also where we're now doing committee liaison reports?
Yes, if you'd like to.
Real quick for the Committee on Public Art, at the last meeting, the subcommittee for Art Along the Road that's taking that on, they need to still figure out some logistics around that event, including parklets on H Street, just one of the many things that they have to figure out. And they have decided to move forward with an art installation in the duck lot, and they've chosen the artist that is actually going to be painting a mural. So that's pretty exciting. And also, there are 2 openings on that committee, so I'd like to encourage the community to apply.
Thank you. Brian?
Yeah, Jason did an excellent job of giving the Bikeways update. Good job, Jason. I'm not the liaison for Housing Advisory, but DJ was not there and I was there, so I took a few notes to share. They discussed formalizing our ADU SDC waiver program. I guess right now it's not, on the books per se. It's just kind of more informal. So they discussed formalizing that. And they spent the majority of their meeting discussing the solar setback amendment that's part of a larger amendment that we're doing. So they had a very robust presentation from staff about that and a very robust discussion. And so it sounds like they're going to be giving us some good recommendations from that. And that was the bulk of it.
Thank you. Valerie.
I'm just going to mention that I was very excited to see that the Allen Creek is coming back through. The extra funding was approved, so we will be getting the funding to move forward with Allen Creek Road shortly. Shortly is different in our idea than the rest of the world's idea, but it is moving forward.
Brian.
Yeah, I forgot one thing from housing. We had asked Housing Committee to review the minimum density and the construction excise tax before we were going to have another workshop about it. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do that, but they are going to have an email discussion and they're going to send it out and ask for committee comments and get those organized so we can have that before we have it at our next workshop.
Can they do an email discussion? No. The committee shouldn't be having an email discussion.
You can tell the liaison.
All right. We'll get the word back to them. That was the Housing Advisory Committee, right? Rick.
The Solid Waste Committee had a meeting and they approved abatement funds for Josephine County. And there was also an organization down in Cave Junction that helps seniors clean up their property and do other activities. And they got approval for that as well.
Anybody else? All right, how about items from staff? Anything to share tonight, guys?
There's some committee openings. The Collaborative Economic Development Committee has 2 positions open. There's special qualifications, a position for manufacturing and industrial, and a member at large. The Committee on Public Art is looking for 2 positions, and the Housing Advisory Committee has 2 positions open. So if you want to apply, you can apply online or come to the city admin office. Also, I'm going to be sending out an email to council. Josephine County Fair is August 11th through the 15th, and we are going to have our GP Jeopardy booth. And so I'll send out some times if you would like to come and man the booth with staff.
Thank you. Are there cash prizes?
No, but we have really good prizes.
Oh, okay.
Our booth is the most popular booth at the fair. The last year we had about 1,300 people go through our booth alone. So it's actually a really fun time.
Great coffee cups.
All right. We'll get
I would
our-
just like to thank Karen for all she does to get it together. But it is really a fun, I mean, because we do a Jeopardy, and so we get a lot of kids, and they win prizes. I mean, T-shirts. I mean, there's great things. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a great opportunity for us to work with the staff. So I really look forward to it.
Sounds good. All right. Well, it looks like people are excited about this being a short meeting, and maybe they're ready to go home for the night. So, motion to adjourn? Valerie?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Rick with the second. Thank you. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll see you back here next Monday morning, 11:45.